So after Lauri Markkanen's last two outings in which he scored 30 plus points in both games, and really his performance so far this season, it does bring into question what the Bulls should do about his contract when he becomes a restricted free agent this offseason. Now I hear a lot of differing opinions from you guys in the comments or other fans on Twitter that we should absolutely prioritize keeping Lauri at all cost. You know, how he might actually be the focal point that we build around for the future. You know, to some people saying that Lauri is soft, that he can't play defense, and we need to trade him. And it got me thinking, what should the Bulls do in this scenario, since we obviously didn't sign him to a contract extension this season? So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Before I get into the video, I know some of you were disappointed who came really close in predicting the score correctly for last night's game, or you didn't see the video until it was too late and you missed out on winning the $100 gift card to NBAstore.com. But guys, don't worry, I do giveaways often on this channel. There will be more, so just make sure you subscribe and you hit the bell notification so you don't miss a giveaway offer in the future. And congrats again to Jay Klein, the winner from last night. But back to the video. So guys, as you know, Lauri Markkanen was eligible for an extension off his rookie contract, where the Bulls could have secured him for a longer term deal, but ultimately Lauri and his agent and the Bulls front office could not come to an agreement on an extension prior to the December 21st deadline. And now Lauri Markkanen will be a restricted free agent come this offseason, which means he will be available on the open market to receive offers from other teams, but the Bulls have the rights to match any offers that he receives in order to be able to retain him. If you remember, this is actually what happened with Lavine, on the current contract that he's on, which is a 4-year, $78 million deal. That was actually an offer made by the Sacramento Kings when he was a restricted free agent, and the Bulls matched the offer to keep him. Now for Lauri, based on the way he's playing right now, if he is able to maintain this level of play and doesn't suffer any injuries, he's going to get big offers from teams, because a stretch 4 big man who can shoot well from deep isn't easy to come by. That's a very coveted player in this league. So the Bulls will be forced to make a decision on how he fits for the future of this franchise. And I've said it on this channel before, and I'm sure if you've been following the Bulls and how the front office has positioned contracts going into free agency this year, they have a ton of cap space, enough to sign 2 max players, in fact. Now initially, this was supposed to be one of the biggest free agency classes the league has seen since 2010, with guys like Giannis, LeBron, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, potentially Anthony Davis, to be available on the market as unrestricted free agents. But all of these players, with the exception of Kawhi, they extended their contracts with their respective teams and are now off the market. The Bulls could try to make a push for Kawhi this offseason if he ends up not exercising his player option with the Clippers, but I've said it before, this is incredibly unrealistic unless the Bulls make an insane push in the back half of the season where they show a lot of promise of really just being one big player away from contention. And otherwise, Kawhi at this stage in his career is not going to want to play for a rebuilding team. So outside of Kawhi Leonard, the 2021 free agency class for max players is all but dried up. Now that doesn't mean the Bulls shouldn't go for some of the other mid-level caliber free agents, which I've talked about in a separate video on the Bulls free agency and what they should be doing this summer. I'll leave that linked in the description. But because the free agency class has dwindled in terms of players the Bulls would have looked to have offered max contracts to, this does leave them with a lot of options in terms of their overall cap flexibility. So going into the 2021-22 season, as of right now, the Bulls have Zach Lavine under contract at $19.5 million. They have Patrick Williams at $7.4 million on the second year of his rookie deal. Those are actually the only 2 contracts that are fully guaranteed and on the books. Now, the Bulls did exercise their team options to keep Kobe White and Wendell for next season at around $6 and $7 million respectively, again, both on their rookie scale contracts. Hutchinson's team option was also exercised at $4 million, and then the Bulls do have a team option for Ryan Arcidiacono, which I think is probably unlikely that they'll exercise. So it leaves the Bulls with a ton of flexibility on who they can bring in or retain. Now back to Lauri Markkanen. We know the Bulls couldn't agree to an extension, which I know it's easy to say now, well, that was a mistake because based on how he's playing now, he's going to command more money. But first of all, we don't know how much his agent was actually wanting for Lauri. Second, Lauri did not have a good season last year, and whether we want to blame that on Jim Boylan or not, the fact of the matter is the front office did not feel he was worth extending for a large contract when his numbers were down. He was only averaging 14.7 points per game, 6.3 rebounds. He was shooting 34% from three. Those were all significantly lower than his sophomore numbers and even his rookie numbers. On top of that, Lauri had missed a lot of games due to injury, so I actually don't blame the front office for not extending him, but rather using this season as a prove-it year to show that he's worth the money that he desires, and so far he's doing that, averaging 20.5 points per game and shooting an incredible 51.8% from the field and 41.3% from three. These are the best numbers of his career so far. And by the way, he's actually playing better defense. He's not great defense, but much better than what we've seen from Markkanen in these past years. So the question is, well, what's Markkanen worth going into this offseason? Is he potentially worth a max contract or close to it? Do the Bulls want to offer him a max contract, especially given the fact that Lavine will be on the last year of his deal next season, and based on the way he's playing, he could command a max deal or thereabouts. And I mean, signing both of these guys, these two, to max or near max deals, that essentially means you're building the franchise around these guys. Now, the tricky thing for Markkanen, given he's a restricted free agent, is that the Bulls are kind of beholden to what the league thinks his market value is. Even if they don't think he's a max contract player, or say even a $20 million a year player, if a team offers him a large deal like that, they would be forced to match if they want to keep him. Restricted free agency is kind of funny like that because in a way you could almost have teams intentionally offering larger deals than the player is worth just to try and sabotage another team and forcing them to match. I don't think that is likely the case. I don't think teams do that because the team holding the player could easily call their bluff and not match, and then said team that made the offer would now have to take that player on a deal they may otherwise regret. But it's interesting because I do think some teams will offer him a very large contract who is in need of a big man that can shoot, especially ones that struggle with their current roster and spreading the floor. And let's be honest, there are some franchises that have been known to throw out big offers to players, giving them more than what they're worth because they're desperate to make a splash and bring in some talent. And I think Markkanen is worth a big payday. Don't get me wrong, he's proving his worth right now. But if a team offered him a max deal, if I'm the Bulls front office, I don't know if I could match that for a guy like Lauri. Like I said, as much as I like him and I think he's a quality talent in this league who hasn't even entered his prime yet, the fact still remains that he is a bit injury prone and has been known to be inconsistent at times. Max contracts are the type of deals you reserve for the very top, the very best players in the league. Not all the time. I know some bad contracts, max contracts that is, have been given out to players by various teams in the past who weren't really, at all worth it. Guys like Gordon Hayward and Mike Conley come to mind. They're good players, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't consider them to be, top 20 or top 30 players in the league. So for Markkanen, I would not match a max offer sheet, at least based on what we know today. I mean, that could change if he just explodes the rest of the season. But if he stays consistent with the way he's playing right now, which he's playing at a very high level right now, I would say anywhere in that $20 to $25 million range would make the most sense for the Bulls should, they match an offer sheet somewhere similar in that range. But once we're entering, the $30 million plus range, I just don't know if you can justify that for a guy like Markkanen, as good as he has been, because that really eats into your salary cap and can hamstring you in the future when looking to add other free agents. And like I said, Lavine is going to be looking to get paid once his contract ends as well, which again will end the following season. Now, I don't fault the front office for not getting a deal done, like I said before, prior to the deadline for Markkanen, because Markkanen was coming off a pretty mediocre season. He missed quite a few games. And I was all for them putting him in a situation that enables him to play his best basketball, improving his value to the Bulls and to the league. I know some of you have been saying, well, now, he's going to command more money and we could have extended him on a cheaper deal before the season started. Well, first of all, we don't know what kind of contract his agent was pushing for. It could have very well been unreasonable based on the play for Markkanen in the prior season. And second, that's fine. We want Markkanen to prove his value. We want him to come to the table with his best game and looking to improve every day. And if that means the Bulls have to shell out a lot of money for him to keep him, then so be it. Like I said, within reason. If you're getting above $25 million a year, that is likely too much in my opinion for Markkanen. Although, it's tough to accept. The Bulls would likely have to move on and let him sign with whatever team offers him that kind of money. What do you guys think though? Do you think Markkanen is worth a max contract or close to it anyway if he continues to perform at the level he has been? Should the Bulls try and match any offer sheet he receives in free agency? As always, guys, be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and you enjoy daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.